Microphones are going on.
They are on.
Welcome to the special joint session of the Brockton School Committee and the Brockton City Council meeting. Please stand and join me in saluting our flag. I pledge
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, councilors and school committee members. We're going to have our Honorable Mayor Robert Sullivan have to say a few words.
Good evening, everybody. I want to, first of all, thank the council president. I will be delegating her to run this special joint meeting of the school committee and city council. That's been past practice. And as the mayor of the city of Brockton, I will only vote in terms of a tiebreaker. That's the standard. But I do want to thank the council president. She has spent countless hours with the clerk preparing for this evening, and it's a very important evening relative to Southeastern Regional Vocational. So thank you for being here. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Mayor. Okay. Mr. Clerk, please read the order.
Anthony Zioli, City Clerk, members of the City Council, City Hall, 45 School Street, Brockton, Mass. Mr. Zioli and members of the City Council, I hereby call a special joint session of the City Council and the School Committee for the City of Brockton to be held in the Council Chambers, second floor of City Hall, 45 School Street, Brockton, Mass, on Wednesday, March 11, 2020, at 7 p.m. The subject to be acted upon is as follows: to vote on a candidate to serve out the balance of the unexpired term of Mark Lindy to the Southeastern Regional School Committee and any and all other related matters. Sincerely signed, Councilor Shirley Azak, Council President.
Accepted and placed on file.
We have the officer's return of notice.
Accepted and placed on file.
We have, in accordance with Section 36 of the City Charter, the City Council and School Committee shall meet in joint convention to vote on a candidate to serve out the balance of the unexpired term of Mark Lindy to the Southeastern Regional School Committee. The mayor has delegated the council president to preside over this meeting.
Good evening, councilors, school committee members. I'm joined up here by our Honorable Mayor Robert Sullivan, who is the chair of the Brockton School Committee, and the vice chair of the school committee, Mr. Mark DAgostino. So they are here with us, and thank you to them because they helped organize this meeting and help get make the right decisions to come together and fill this seat that needs to be filled. This is one of the seats that belongs to Brockton. So as I believe the clerk is going to do a roll call vote. So this is a attendance roll call. So please, since we're in the beginning, you just state that you're present. Okay? Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
The roll call is in alphabetical order. Joyce Azak.
Here.
Shirley Azak.
Present.
Tina Cardoso.
Present.
Timothy Cruz.
Present.
Mark DAgostino.
Present.
Dennis Ianeri.
Present.
Winthrop Fowle Jr.
Present.
John Lally.
Present.
Rita Mendez.
Present.
Thomas Minocello Jr. Thomas Monahan.
Present.
Susan Nicastro.
Present.
Cynthia Rivas Mendez.
Present.
Moises Rodriguez.
Present.
Tony Rodriguez.
Present.
Judy Sullivan.
Present.
Timothy Sullivan.
Present.
Jeffrey Thompson.
Present.
All members accounted for and present.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Before I explain some of the terms, I would just like to announce that we have a few guests in the chambers this evening. We are joined by the chairwoman of the Southeastern Regional School Committee, Robin Zoll. So welcome, Robin. Thank you for being here this evening. We are also joined by the current school committee member that is serving as a Brockton representative to the Southeastern Regional School Committee, and that's Mr. Tony Branch. And Mr. Mark Lindy is in the chambers this evening, and Mr. Lindy is the person whose seat we are actually making an appointment to this evening. This is a special situation because in the past, whenever we have had these meetings, it has been to replace somebody who is no longer here. In this case, Mr. Lindy is still with us, very well with us, just in a different town, and I did want to give him the opportunity to say a few words. He was elected for the past, I believe, 11 years. So, Mr. Lindy, if you'd like to come before us and just state a few words.
Thank you very much, Madam President and councilors and school committee members. I understand you have an excellent list of candidates to choose from tonight. The Southeastern Regional seat was near and dear to my heart, and I wanted to thank all the people in Brockton that voted for me for 3 terms, and it was a tough decision to leave the city of Brockton. Our grandson lives around the corner, so that might give you some ideas why we did, and it was hard to leave, and it was hard to vacate the seat, but the seat took a lot of time, a lot of energy. It was the best job in the world, and I just wanted to thank the voters of Brockton for supporting me. The role of the school committee wasn't just once a month meeting. It was way more than that. The best part of it was going to graduation, handing out the diplomas. I happened to have been chair 3 times, so I got to give the speech, and the speech was be brilliant, be brief, and be seated, because they didn't want to hear from me. They wanted their diplomas. So it was the joy of a lifetime to go to all that, to be on the advisory board, to go to every school event that possibly happened, to be on subcommittees, and to be elected by my colleagues as chair. So I just want to thank you all for your due diligence tonight, and I look forward to seeing who is the person that fills the seat. I would like to recommend strongly, not a person, but that whoever gets elected maybe stays there, because in November there's an election. It's only to fill the vacant term. So it's my hope, as it was last time, Tony ran for re-election, and he's turned out to be a wonderful school committee member and followed very nicely in Wayne McAllister's footsteps. So thank you for the privilege of being here.
And thank you for your service for many years to the city. Thank you, Mr. Lindy. Mr. Branch, as the Southeastern Regional School Committee member representative here this evening, would you like to give us a short
Thank you all. First of all, I want to thank this joint session, because approximately 3.5 years ago, you voted the appointment of myself to the Southeastern Regional School Committee. It's an honor to serve, and I wanted to thank this body. Distinguished members of this body, just wanted to talk a little bit about Southeastern. So in 2021, Southeastern is expected to have 945 students from the city of Brockton. Southeastern Regional School Department, it has high academic standards. We're moving forward with respect to restorative justice. We don't talk about discipline. We want to find out what's going on with our children at home. We don't want them to see Southeastern as being a school of punishment. So we're moving in the right direction. With respect to parental involvement, under the leadership of Principal Leslie Wexler, we have a strong partnership with the parents that come from all the 9 cities and towns. So we are moving steadfast in terms of having a strong relationship with our parents. With respect to collaborative teamwork, we work very strongly among the TI, which is the Technical Institute, and the high school, to make sure that it's a smooth transition with all our departments under the leadership of Superintendent Lopes. We have recently implemented, as of yesterday, Facebook Live. One of the challenges that we have found under the leadership of Chairman Zoll is that people did not have access to the work that the school committee is doing. Now we are on Facebook Live, so you'll be able to see us with respect to transparency and the work and policies that the school committee is setting. With respect to diversity and inclusiveness, we are at the forefront across this Commonwealth of saying that we are one Southeastern. We represent a diverse community, not only the city of Brockton, but the towns that are surrounding us, from eastern Massachusetts to the Bridgewaters. And our expectation is that everyone feels welcome. We are one Brockton. We are one Southeastern. The folks that are going to come up for the appointment today need to understand that. This is about the parents, and this is about being a voice for both the parents and the students. Again, I want to thank you all for your great work, and good luck. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. And welcome to the candidates. Welcome. Thank you for being here this evening, and thank you in advance for putting your names out there and really submitting your resumes and wanting to serve our city and our schools. Thank you. With that said, each candidate will be given 3 minutes to make a statement to members. After all candidates have given their statements, the members will be given an opportunity to ask questions to each candidate. Then a vote will be taken to appoint a member to serve out the balance of the term of Mr. Mark Lindy. In the event of a tie, additional balloting will be taken until a vote is reached. At this time, is the council and school committee prepared to vote for a candidate to fill the unexpired term of Mark Lindy to the Southeastern Regional School Committee? Yes? Yes. Okay. At this time, I'm calling for the vote. Mr. Clerk, please read the roll. I'm sorry? Oh, yes, of course. So in order of alphabetical order, we'll have Ms. Nancy D. Macedo, if you'd like to come up to the podium and say a few words.
Hello.
Good evening.
My name is Nancy D. Macedo, Fernandez, for those that don't know me. I live in Ward 5 in Brockton. I previously ran for school committee for Ward 5 also against Miss Judy Sullivan over here. I did lose, it's okay, we're okay. I feel that I should put my name in the hat here because it's something that we need to represent our students and our parents that are at Southeastern. And the person that should fill that is somebody that does represent those, you know, that's in the mix with the kids that are in the neighborhoods, the kids that are in the school from Brockton that are going to school at Southeastern. I just feel that it's somebody that needs to speak for them. That's what you're there for. That's all. Do I take questions at this point, or?
Councilors, school committee members, does anybody have any questions, or do you want to, Councilor
you.
Castro?
Good evening, Nancy. Thank you for being here. I just wanted to ask you if you were a registered voter.
Yes, I am.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Any other questions, or? Okay, sorry, was it Councilor Mendez?
Hi, Nancy. How are
Hi.
you? Hi, good evening. So I just wanted to say that I had an opportunity to call you, and we had a very good conversation. And I was very impressed with you and all the different activities that you do in the city. And I really want to thank you so much for putting your name out there and how much you invested in your children's life and also in other children's life too, that you do coach, that you're very involved. So I thank you so much for that. I think for really putting your name out there.
Thank you.
Mr. DAgostino, do you want to come up to the microphone, or?
First, I want to thank you for putting your name in and applying for this. My question is, I'm approaching this as an alumni of Southeastern. So and I asked this of Mr. Branch when he was appointed too. So what is it that you would like me as an alumni of the school to be thinking about and considering when I make my vote?
What would I like you to consider? I think I would like you to consider putting somebody in there that actually represents the people of Brockton.
Okay. Thank you.
School committee member Sullivan.
Good evening, Nancy. I don't have a
Good evening.
microphone. I'll speak louder. I got two now.
It's okay. It's not.
My question is, tonight is an appointment. Are you willing to run for this office?
If given the opportunity, can I? I believe I can, right?
Yes, you can.
Then yes, I would like to.
That's what I was, are you considering running for re-election?
I haven't considered running for anything at this point.
Okay, thank you.
I believe what school committee member from Ward 7 is asking is if you were to be appointed, would you run
Right.
for the seat? Because the election for this seat is this coming fall to be filled by, so the voters would be voting on someone to fill this seat in the fall.
In November, correct?
Okay.
Yes, I would like to.
Thank you. Counselor Lally.
Thank you. That was basically my question. My question was for the, the future of the seat. My vote, I'm looking to cast my vote for someone who is committed to Southeastern. Southeastern offers opportunities that, most schools do not, in a day where that's really necessary. I think it was ignored or overlooked for a long period of time in favor of, colleges and things like that. But now, now the tables have turned. A bachelor's degree is, just as good as a diploma. But, coming out of school, an electrician or a plumber, that's going to put you miles ahead. So my vote is going to go to someone who like President Azak and School Committeeman Sullivan said, is either going to, serve out the term or serve out the term and seek re-election. I want to make sure that who I vote for is committed to Southeastern and to that seat. So I don't know if you have anything to say
Yes.
on that. Yeah.
My question is going to be, is there going to be any stipulations where you're going to say we can't?
We can't stipulate.
You've stipulated on other terms that have been seated with somebody else.
Well, we can stipulate for garage licenses and things like that, but we can't keep you from running for something or from not running for something, based on the rights you have as a citizen of Brockton and the United States.
Then my answer is yes, I will run for re-election
Thank you.
or to get elected.
Counselor Thompson.
Good evening, Nancy, and thank you for being here tonight. I'd also like to thank you for stepping forward and making the opportunity to serve your community. It's much appreciated.
Thank you.
I wanted to speak quickly about Mr. Lindy briefly spoke about the time demands of this job. We all take this job thinking it's just a part-time job, and you learn quickly that the schedule demands a lot from you, meetings, events, stuff to that nature. Can you tell us about how your day job would allow you to have a flexible schedule to attend different events and meetings as the time demands require?
I schedule my own hours, so I'm my own boss. I can schedule my own hours. I'm okay.
So you have the flexibility
Yes,
to
I do.
attend all the different functions and events and meetings. Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Ms. Macedo Fernandez? No? Thank you.
Thank you.
The next candidate is Mr. Rae Henningsen.
Hi, good evening, councilors and school committee members, Mr. Mayor. Pardon me, I got to put my glasses on here, getting a little older. Good evening. For those that don't know me, my name is Rae Henningsen, Ward 7, former Ward 7 school committee member. I ran when Tim Sullivan had run, and I had a 2-year stint on the school committee. I'm asking tonight for your vote for the appointment to serve out the balance of the unexpired term of Mark Lindy to the Southeastern Regional School Committee. I first wanted to thank Mark Lindy for his many years of service to the Southeastern and to the city of Brockton. It's a important job, and whomever gets this appointment has really big shoes to fill, so I wanted to thank Mr. Lindy for his time and his service to the city. Why am I asking for your vote tonight? Well, I believe my prior experience as a school committee member for the city of Brockton for 2 years lends well to this appointment. I'd be able to hit the ground running without really any kind of learning curve whatsoever. Some of the things I bring to the appointment are prior experience, as I said, as a school committee member. I'm the vice president of finance for a masonry supply company. I contain financial and budget experience. I was on the Conservation Commission for 3 years. I was a former board of director for Brockton Day Nursery. I was recently elected last year the second vice president of the Brockton NAACP. I've been recently reelected as treasurer for the Frederick Douglass Neighborhood Association. I also was a former treasurer for Trinity Catholic Academy for over 3 years and serve on other types of functions within the city and within the confines of my job. I work within the masonry trades, and I understand the necessity for a variety of options our youth, including higher education and the trade fields. So at Southeastern, students have over 20 academic career fields to choose from. They have also a robust academic curriculum, and they use vocational and technical studies to help achieve the students' goals. So just a little bit about vocational education and opportunities for those that don't know. You know, I am a finance person. I went to school, you know, for finance. But in my line of work, what I found in the past 6 years at my current position is the trade field is a very lucrative, very good field to get into. Not only can you make a great living at it, but you can also fulfill a growing need. I work with customers every day in my company that far surpass salaries that people with bachelor's and master's degrees get. $75,000, $150,000 a year, people in the job site making a lot of money. These are good jobs, but they're going unfilled. So a little bit about that. In the U.S. alone, there's 434,000 vacant construction jobs as of April of 2019. 160,000 commercial CDL driver positions are going to go unfilled in the next decade. And according to the Welding Society, the U.S. will face a shortage of 400,000 welders by 2024. These are important things that mean that we need to grow things like Southeastern in the trades because we do have those shortages, and that's important. So I believe I can make a difference as the next school committee member at Southeastern. I want to use my skills and grow Southeastern and more opportunities for the youth. So on that, I humbly ask for your vote tonight for the appointment of Southeastern Regional School Committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Henningsen. School committee members, counselors, anybody has any questions? Or Mr. Vice Chair?
Mr. Henningsen, thank you for putting your name in this evening and coming and being willing to potentially serve. My question is the same, and I'm going to have the same question for everybody. As you know, I'm an alumni of Southeastern. I think I might be the only one.
Councilor Lally.
No, I'm saying I want to speak.
No, Councilor Lally.
Cardinal Spellman, oh.
So, but my point is that as I'm going to approach this from that perspective of being an alumni of the school, somebody who graduated in the class of '97 from Southeastern. So what is it that you want to say to me, given that approach or how I'm going to consider this? What do you want me to know and what do you want me to think about when I'm deciding who I'll be voting for this evening?
Well, one of the things I would like to do is bring more robust opportunities to our children and give them more opportunities in these trades and let them know that these are unfulfilled positions and that there are opportunities galore. And one doesn't have to get a four-year degree or a master's degree in order to be successful, that there are multiple pathways to success, and it doesn't necessarily mean, you know, that one has to, you know, follow a certain path. As you know, many people know, people can go to Southeastern, they can go to a four-year institution and maybe do something completely different. That's up to them. By giving them those opportunities, you open those doors and open the possibilities for them.
Great, thank you.
Councilor Lally.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm also going to repeat the same question to everybody. You know, I'm concerned about the future of the seat. You know, you mentioned a lot of very important statistics about the importance of schools like Southeastern. And so I just want to gauge your commitment. You know, will you not run for re-election? Will you run for re-election? Will you seek another seat, another office?
My intention is 100% to take this appointment extremely seriously, as I took my role on the school committee very seriously, and then run for re-election. I believe I've already spoken to people. I believe we have to start pulling papers in April or sometime like that, and that's my intention, to pull papers, get the needed signatures, and get on the ballot so I can run again for November. My intention is to intend to go through that full four-year term.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Cynthia, school committee member from Ward 2.
Hi. Thank you for putting your name out there for your 2 years of serving in the school committee. As you know, on the school committee, our #1 priority is student achievement. So I can't say that I graduated from Southeastern, but my husband did. And currently he's an engineer. He did go through college, but one of his biggest regrets that I hear is all his student loan. We live in a world where a lot of us want to push kids to college. He was actually in the shop, the CAD shop. From my understanding, it's working with the computer on Blueprint and how things are. From there, he graduated second in his class and went on to Wentworth Technology. But he always says, I don't think I needed to get into my student debt. I could have lived off my trade and had no debt. And even though I wouldn't make as much money as I make as an engineer, it would be equivalent because I wouldn't have any debt. So how would you phrase this to students who may not have the knowledge and may feel the pressure because maybe their cultures or maybe their homes, their families think that the ultimate road to success is through college? How would you voice this to students and educate them so they can educate themselves, their communities, and their families that the road to success is not only college? I know that's a loaded question, but.
That's okay, because as a parent of a child graduating this year from UMass Amherst in pre-med studies, she'll leave that school with my contribution of $30,000. She'll leave that school with over $60,000 worth of debt. Now, luckily, she's going into a profession in a field that will allow her and give her that opportunity to make a nice salary to be able to realistically pay that off. So how you explain this to our youth and parents is you break it down in a monetary fashion as well. You know, when you see the loan forms from MIFA or all those other loan forms, it's quite shocking that a $20,000 loan on a 15-year repayment at 7% interest becomes $43,000 just on the $20,000. So you're going to have children that are going to be leaving these professions, these schools, with $100,000 of debt, unless they're lucky enough to get, some sort of financial aid, which I received none. So you do that, you explain the math to them, you explain what a payment's going to look like, what their salary's probably going to look like coming out of the school, and how they're going to be burdened with those student debts. The other thing you can show them is, one of the things that I see every day that the youth, they like to see material things. They're very big on material things. Well, a lot of our guys drive $100,000 F-250 trucks. You can't just go off the street and buy one of these things. You got to make a good amount of money to do that. So it gives you that opportunity to really break it down to something that they would understand.
Thank you. School committee member from Ward 7, Mr. Sullivan.
Ray, I just wanted to thank you for putting your name in the hat. And number one is, I know there's a lot of subcommittees at Southeastern. One of the big ones is contract negotiations. Do you have experience in that?
As a matter of fact, I do. I actually served with former Vice Chair Minicello on the contract negotiations with the custodians, and we actually were extremely successful in that negotiation, saving the city hundreds of thousands of dollars in the end through good faith bargaining. I also deal with in the trades now. I deal with union, non-union people, so I'm always interacting in that, and I belong to the Business Association in Boston, so we're always dealing with various issues of that nature.
Just one other thing, it's like a subpart to that. The budget is probably the biggest job that you have on the school committee, as you know. Do you have an idea on how to balance a budget like that big?
Budgets are extremely complicated, and yes, I do know how to balance the budget. It's a requirement. We're not in the luxury of not being able to balance the budget, as you know. It's not like other institutions that can leave a deficit spending. You can't. You have to balance that budget. Unfortunately, as you and other school committee members are aware, we've had some really difficult times, and we've had to make horribly difficult decisions. And those are decisions that certainly kept me up at night, because I know that whatever decisions we make, especially in hard financial times, have an impact on families and their futures as well.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Counselor from Ward 5, Counselor Thompson.
Good evening, Mr. Henningsen. Thank you for stepping forward and, taking another opportunity to serve your community. I got to know you a little bit through the campaign, and you're always somebody who really wants to step forward and serve their community. So again, it's much appreciated. I'm going to ask the same question. I know at the beginning of your speech, you kind of gave an overview of all the organizations that you belong to. I'm sure that's a large demand of your time. Given the time demands of this job, can you just briefly explain your availability to meet the demands of the job, both through all the other organizations you belong to and your current position in your job today?
Well, as you know, as a parent, it is always a challenge being a parent, being involved in all those organizations, et cetera. But one makes the time. I'm fortunate that I am the vice president of finance for a company. I get to basically set my own hours. My company, we have a retail side of it too, so we close our facility in the wintertime at 4 p.m. and we open during the summer till 4:30 p.m. So I'm an hour away, but I'm usually home by 5:30, barring any kind of horrible traffic situation, but it's the expressway, so you never know. But I will say, out of the 2 years that I did serve on the Brockton School Committee, I can think of maybe 2 instances where I missed a meeting, and one I was very, very sick. I had actually run for re-election, lost to Minister Sullivan, and that election had really taken a toll on my health. As you know, campaigning is a lot, and I actually missed, I believe it was 8th grade ceremonies. Other than that, I missed one other thing. I also take time out of my day if there's something very important, like they have on the school side, Day on the Hill, where you go and you meet with your constituents. You do that. I've done that. I've also advocated on my own time for public education. I was actually working on the No on 2 campaign against charter school expansion, and I also fought very hard to make sure that Brockton did not, that we fought the charter school. And that was a big thing for me. So I keep active, but I always want to serve in any capacity I can, and I never want to let the kids down. So it's all about giving that time commitment.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Henningsen.
Thank you.
The next candidate is Mr. Ozzie Jordan, Jr.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity of coming before you. Some of you I know well, have served with a number of you over the years. What's also nice is to be standing here looking at the wall and know the pictures and the persons and had worked with them, rather than when I first came into City Hall, had no idea who the people were. But besides all that, why did I put my hat back into the ring? I'm like running a marathon to come back in. I don't have to retrain. I don't have to crawl, walk, what have you. You name it, I've done it. Probably 10 or 15 times more than anybody else. Anything you can talk about, I know. I've been through it, and usually at a high level. I can stand here and give you probably an hour's worth of all the various committees and groups and what have you I've chaired in this community and across the state doing other things. If you like, I'll do that. Some of that was on, I gave a very general view of what I've done, the kinds of things I have done. I'd rather have questions from all of you individually than rather me stand up here and try to explain to you the various committees I've been on. If you want, I'll do that also. I can do 10, 20 of them, whatever you like. Go ahead, please.
Any questions? Councilors, school committee member from Ward 5, Ms. Judy Sullivan.
Hi, good evening, Ozzie. I just wanted to let the past members of a lot of the school committee, longtime school committee people know Ozzie because he took over for a seat in Ward 6, the death of a school committee member in office. Okay, Ozzie came right in, helped us out. He was very open to taking the seat since we needed somebody to fill it, probably 2 terms ago.
Yes.
Okay. I found Ozzie very fair, open-minded, honest, respectable. He also relates well to all groups. So I'd like to thank you, Ozzie, for everything you've helped the school committee with, and I wish you luck.
Thank you, and thank you for working with you.
Ward 6 Councilor, Mr. Lally.
All right, thank you, Madam President. Mr. Jordan, same question as the last couple candidates. What are your intentions regarding the seat? Would you seek another term? Do you plan to run for something else? Would you fill out the term and then be done? What are your intentions regarding the seat in the future?
My intentions was to come in and to fill what I've seen a hole with the connection between the city itself and the regional schools and the Southeast Regional School Committee. I was glad to hear Mr. Branch this evening talk about put information on the electronic system and providing information. For years, we were getting no feedback from what was going on at Southeast Regional. 20 programs down there. There's 10 people, I guess it is, on the committee, 2 from Brockton. We put a lot of money down there. There's 9 communities altogether. We're the one city, the rest of towns. By the way, that would be a good looking at there as a study on how we could do a regional piece, which we need to do, but that's for another day. The pieces that I've seen, a lot of people just don't know what goes on. They think of that as being a vocational school. It's not that. Reading the material I saw, there was a couple of things missing. One is there was no indication that they're looking at this point in time, what is going down here in the Southeast, what's going into Massachusetts, and then spread it out to New England and across the country. What kinds of training should we have at that school that our youth could participate in? I'll take an easy one. Automobile. If you stand behind me in a line going through getting your food or whatever, and there's a youngster there, I'm talking to him. They might say they want to do auto mechanics. I said, well, why? Well, I like that. I'm going to make good money. I said, how would you like to make 3 times that amount of money? They look at me and say, what? Well, how would you like to work on big boats or on large equipment where you can make over $100,000 a year? The wrench may be a little bigger, but it's the same information that you know. That's the kind of stuff that's not taught to our individuals, our children. It needs to be that kind of stretch, all right? That's the kind of thing that just needs to happen and is not happening. I do that every time, so if you see me at a cash register, don't get behind me because you're going to be standing there for a while. And I've had some of the individuals call me back and, ask further, and I ask them to get their parents involved when we're talking to them and give them ways that they can get into the various types of work there are out here, because there's lots of things happening. And unfortunately, we still, at this point, don't do our job as far as the guidance part with youngsters, and that's both local and at Southeast Regional. And I'm not knocking people, it's just the way the system's set up. And unfortunately, those are the kinds of things that need to be changed and to be moved.
So, would you consider running for re-election?
I was not thinking of that. I wanted to get in, plant a seed, get it to grow, and let somebody else come in who wants to stay in and what have you.
Okay.
I am the oldest person in here, all right? And believe it or not, like it or not, no, you're not. I'm not sure about Tony, and that's the only one I don't know. But the rest of you, no, you're not, okay? But I've been around, I've done everything, I've seen everything. Talk about unions, you name it, I've been there, I've done it, including teaching way back in the beginning, okay? So I've done it all, I know where it is. It's not a bragging thing. Once you go through something, you know where the holes are that need to be plugged, okay? And that's the kind of thing I can bring forward. I've got 2 grandchildren in the school system here now. I've had others that have come through the system. My grandson, freshman, played on the football team this year. First time playing football, was the quarterback, and they did a very good season. So we're looking to see what happens with him. I'll be around. I'm not going anywhere. But no, I have no intentions. I've retired. To answer the other question about what kind of time do I have, as much time as I want. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Jordan. Thank you, Madam President.
Okay. Mr. Vice Chair has a question.
You'll be shocked to hear what my question is. Again, like I've said before, as an alumni of the school, proud graduate of the class of 1997, I want to know what is it that about you or that you'll do in your time on the committee that should make me want to vote for you for this position, just understanding that I'm giving it that approach of an alumni.
I think I mentioned a little bit of that, is to stretch what we have down there now. There's programs that have been there for a long time. There's good programs. Some of them could be tweaked a little bit so that they move up into where we are now, to the 21st century. Some of the jobs are truly entry level. I think with a slight tweak, we can move them a little past that, still dealing within the 4 years. The evening programs also are something that need to be looked at, and again, work for those individuals that want to participate. So it's not just the day program, that's a full cycle of both evening and day. All right. The money that we put out of this particular city is a lot of money that goes down there. Somebody needs to be down there saying, hey, look, we need to take some of that money and do some things that would be beneficial to everybody in this area, and in particular our children. Our kids don't know about what's going on down there in Southeast Regional. You know, and again, they think it's a vocational school in its oldest terms of maybe back in the 80s and 90s. Right. We need to change that image. That image needs to be totally thrown out the window and bring it forward. That's the kind of thing I'm hoping to bring forward.
And if you wouldn't mind, you mentioned a slight tweak. I'm curious, can you give me an example of what one of those slight tweaks might be?
Give me any area. That's easier to do. Pick an area and I can do it.
You mentioned summer program.
Okay, summer program. The summer programs are very important. One of the problems I have with summer programs, period, is those of you that are parents, grandparents, and I'm a great-grandparent on top of that, the programs end very early in the day, all right? We're losing a lot of hours. The kids are back out wherever they go. A lot of the programs end at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. What do? Most of the parents are working at least to 5 o'clock. A lot, if you're working out of the city, you're not back here till 6:30 or 7, depending on traffic, et cetera, depending on what your situations are. But programs should be extended enough, maybe with some academics with it if need be. There was an old thing we used to do that you try to bring them in first, maybe using recreation or something. Once you've accomplished that, now you get the real thing, the academics you want them to work with, because they need both, okay? Give me somebody that can write, and I can teach them anything else. That's the one thing that we're missing, in the math, of course, those two things. If we have that, give me anybody, I can teach them anything that they need to know. It's that simple.
Thank you.
Mr. Tim Sullivan.
Ozzy, I wanted to give you a little plug that a lot of guys up here, the school committee and councilors, don't realize that when you were on the school committee and didn't run again, you stayed on the Green Roof Committee, which was from the MSBA, which was to redo the schools. And I just wanted to mention that you stayed on that committee for a year after you didn't run for election again. And I was kind of proud of you at that time for giving up your time. And if you remember, it was every single week that we were there.
Right.
We spent a couple of hours over at Central, and it's still not done, Ozzy. That's still not done till this day.
No,
But you stayed there. The point I was trying to make was you stayed there for a whole year afterwards, and thank you. But my question was, what do you think of charter schools in the city of Brockton?
When you say charter schools, there's the two types of charter schools. The ones that would be controlled by the school committee, and then there's the non-charter schools. The problem I have with that is...
The charter schools for profit.
Okay, for profit. The problem I have, period, with them is one size doesn't fit all. Somebody went someplace in the middle of the country, saw a charter school, it worked perfect with the situation, the youth they had, the situations they were in, and said, great, everybody in the country should have charter schools. No, that doesn't mean. No more than if we say, whatever you're wearing, well, we have one size, everybody's going to fit in it. How many are going to go with that? But we went with it as far as the schools are concerned. You know, those are the kinds of things that we need to fight for our children for people to understand one size never fits all. You look at your family, it just doesn't work. You have to almost put it or meld it to each person as best you can. And that's the kinds of things I think the charter schools themselves drawing a lot of the money off the system. We have one of the best systems in the state. There's no question about that. All right. At the same time, as we pull money out of it, that puts us in a problem, a negative problem, in that we can't teach because we've got to relieve or put some folks on leave for a while until money comes in, if it does come in, et cetera. So, we can go on and on with that stuff, but the charter schools themselves, they have a purpose. The way that the charter school was brought here, I disagree. At the time that it came here, we shouldn't have been eligible. But as things happen, rules were stretched and pulled and what have you, so that because we have a lot of money, we, the city of Brockton, Brockton school system, and they wanted that money to put into the charter school itself by drawing the kids out. It can work in the right places, etc. You got to remember, this is still a blue-collar city, basically, all right? One of the things that I was on, anytime I was up, the first thing I'd say is transportation. People saying, well, do this, we'll do that. How do the kids get there? How are they going to get home? All right? So these were things that I dealt with in looking out for our people, knowing what the situation is of folks that live down in this area. And I think that's the kind of fight that I think you have to do. And that's what I've always done, and that's what I still do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions from the members? Ward 1, School Committee Member, Mr. Minicello.
Good evening, Mr. Jordan. Thank you very much for applying this evening. As mentioned before, Mr. Jordan came on and filled the seat of Mike Healy, who was a good friend to all of us, or many of us, and passed away. And I just say this about Mr. Jordan. He came on the school committee to fill Michael's role, when there was a lot of emotion. It was a great loss. And he's a very dignified person, a very well-respected, I think, in the community, always has his head up high, and is a person that brings people together. That's what I've always seen of him, and I've always admired. Question, Mr. Jordan, is there an advantage to not seeking the election after a person fills the role, in terms of filling the seat until the term expires, and then allowing the democratic process to take itself, and basically have a free election to those who are interested in serving a full term, and not giving someone perhaps an upper hand who is going to be provided with the seat and now provided with an advantage over someone else?
I think you just answered the question. By someone being in the seat for the short amount of time, quite often gives them some kind of an advantage, because people know the name, people see the person in action, whether they're good, bad, or indifferent. If they're coming in without any background, and unfortunately a lot of people have done that when it comes to any kind of a seat. They don't have the background in accounting, they don't have a background in unions, they don't have a background in administration, personnel. We can go down the list, okay? Those are things that it takes a little while to learn. You could come in, and one good thing too about the school department is you have to go to training, where unless the city councilors have changed, as far as I know, you didn't have to go to training except ethics and a couple other things. But you were going to training on the laws about what was going on with schools all the way up and down from A to Z. These are the kinds of things it takes time to learn. I think it'd be unfair for someone to have that head start. We see that happen in a lot of situations where someone fulfills a short term, whatever it may be, months, half year, year and a half, 2 years, whatever it may be. So then the next election, they seem to always win. It's rare that they don't. There's a number of people I know that are looking to come in now. I don't know what their backgrounds are. When I say done it all, please don't misjudge that. I've done enough that I know almost anything you can put in front of me, I could, without doing too much research, I'd have to do some research, The main thing I think I don't know down there at the moment is whatever their union contracts say. The personnel stuff would basically be the same. They may have a few specific rules to that particular system, but other than that, I could get up and run. I don't think anybody else at this point is in that position that they could do that. But back to the meat of your question, someone who sits in there for that short amount of time always seems to get that unfair advantage against others that may want to run and take this as being a long-term type of situation.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions from the committee? Oh, thank you, Mr. Jordan.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the opportunity.
The next candidate is Mr. Jerome Montero. Good evening.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jerome Montero. I'm a Ward 3 resident. This is actually my second time placing my name for consideration to fill this vacant position with Southeastern Southeastern Regional Committee seat. The last time was with Mr. Branch when he ran after the unfortunate passing of Mr. McAllister. And I had put my name down at the time as well. Just a little background about myself, I'll just briefly go over. I'm vested in the education of our youth, as I've been a teacher with the Brockton Public Schools for the past 10 years, both at the middle school level and also at the high school, currently at the high school. I'm a bilingual history teacher. And it's my belief that that public education, we're going through an important time, which is filled with tough, demanding challenges. And I would work very hard to tackle these challenges in a way that would be beneficial to our students, our staff, and our school. And I believe that in addition to meeting the minimum requirements to hold this position, I feel I can bring many valuable attributes to this position. One such as being a leader, a team player, and an effective communicator, consensus builder, decision maker. Also bring the collective bargaining experience. I had a couple of years working for SCIU 888 as their representative. I had about 2,500 to 3,000 members that I had to look after and bargain collectively for some of their contracts. It was from Boston down the 495 corridor all the way to the New York border. And also, as I bring organizing skill, being a teacher, it's one of the skills that we learn is how to organize. If appointed to this position, I will obviously do my best with the other committee members to create a shared vision for work and learning, build strategy through continuous improvement, and sustain the school's progress. Also, maintain strong ethical standards and objectively seek answers to questions and challenges as they arise. So that's pretty much all I have. If you guys have any questions.
Thank you. Councilor Farwell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Gerson, this will not come as a surprise to you because you and I had conversations 3 years ago about the position, and every one of the people who are here tonight are outstanding. I'm particularly pleased that you brought your name forward again because some people get disappointed and they don't. But what I think is especially important is that you're a practitioner. You know how important it is for a school committee to formulate policies that advance the ability of people to teach and students to learn and parents to be involved. You know how important it is to have a budget that reflects the needs of the system. And you know how important it is to relate to all of those different levels of students, parents, staff, as a school committee member. It's not just creating policy or hiring a superintendent. And I think the fact that culturally you represent a segment of the city, and I would hope many of the people in the city would look at the opportunities that we have at Southeastern Regional and maybe reach out to you and be able to relate and talk about the difference between pursuing a strictly academic program or an academic program which also provides training in the trades. So, kudos to you for stepping forward, and I really think that your candidacy speaks well of the people in Brockton and young people like you who are willing to give of your time and effort. And I thank you for that.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you,
All
Madam.
set, Council. School Committee Member Sullivan.
Yes, Kristen, I wanted to thank you, number one, for putting your name in the hat. And the question is, do you think that you being a teacher at Brockton High is a conflict of interest?
No, actually, I think it's it wouldn't be a conflict of interest. If anything, it would be an advantage because I know what I could bring, I know what the teachers are looking for and what the students are looking for. So I don't foresee it as a conflict of interest. And it's a different school district in a way. So what happens there is not technically affecting my job here in Brockton as a teacher. If it was a school committee for Brockton, I would say yes, it would be a conflict of interest. But due to the fact that it's a different district, I don't foresee it as a conflict of interest. If not, like I said earlier, it's more of an advantage because then I bring that background in teaching and I see from the point of view of a teacher and also as a student as well.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Madam President.
Okay. Councilor Lally.
Thank you, Madam President. Mr. Montero, I have the same question for you.
Sure.
You know, concern about the future of the seat, and that, you know, the students get, you know, the care and the attention that they need. What are your intentions regarding the seat? Will you serve out the unexpired term? Will you run for re-election? Do you have any intention or aspiration to run for anything else?
Well, like I said a few years back when this question was actually posed to me, yes, if I'm put in that position, I would run for election. Do I have aspirations for higher office? Politics is my second love after history, so if I say no, it would be a lie. But is it in the near future? No. So this position is what is in front of me, and this is what's important to me right now, not something else, some other position in the maybe far future. So.
Politics and history go very well together.
Yes, they do.
Make sure you're never fooled. But thank you. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Next, we have Councilor Rodriguez.
Oh, thank you, Madam Chair. Jerson, nice to see you, man. As you know, there's a severe disconnect between the students and the parents in our communities, especially when we're dealing with homes that are non-English speaking homes. The kids are running circles around their parents and the parents are lagging miles behind them. So what special skills do you think you possess that would be able to gap and reach those otherwise not involved parents in their children's education at Southeastern Region?
Sure. Well, I would think it would be the same ones at Brockton High with some of my students and some of my parents. One is my language skills. Obviously, English, I can in Creole, Portuguese, Spanish. I can dabble in it. I can have a conversation in Spanish. I'm not fluent. I wouldn't say I was fluent in it. It's most Portuñol, which is a mix of Spanish and Portuguese. But so I could bring that aspect and I will just use some of the stuff that I already use now in my classroom. I call the homes and try to speak to the parents. So I would ask the teachers to do some form of reaching out to the parents. I think that is very important. And also try to make that connection with the student himself or herself, the student that's having some of the issues in the classroom, or not even issues. Even some of the students that are A or B students. Sometimes the parents at home, they don't know some of the benefits and some of the benefits that are offered through our school for their children and for themselves. So the main thing is reaching out to the parents, either by phone. And I tell my students, like, I don't have a problem if I phone a couple of times and your parents they don't answer. I don't have a problem knocking on doors. It's like, one thing is I'm not shy, so now I like to stop by for a cup of tea or some cachupa or whatever it is. But I think reaching out to parents and reaching out to the community is one of the main
way of achieving that, reducing that gap. So,
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
you're
Madam
welcome.
All set, Counselor, okay. Next, we have Mr. D'Agostino.
First, I apologize to Mr. Jordan. I don't think I thanked you for putting your name forward and your willingness to serve, and I do apologize for that because I intended to do so. And so from Mr. Montero, again, thank you for your willingness to serve and for putting your name forward in this process. Again, as I've asked everybody else, approaching this as an alumni of the school, what is something that you would do, or what could I expect to see of you that, from that standpoint, I would like?
Yeah, no, that's a very good question. Well, for me, it's my ability my skill that I have with teaching and ability to connect to the students would be something that I would continue to try to do even at the position as a school committee, because we're there for the students. It's not there to make myself any money. I'm not there for a crown. I'm there for the students. So I like to get to know get in there and get to know what the kids really want, what they need, and do my best to both find that balance between the staff and the students. And I'm a big proponent of vocational training. I wish Brockton High we offered more for our students. I see that a lot with some of my students that come from Cape Verde or come from Vietnam. Right now I have Vietnam, Cape Verde, Haiti, Dominican Republic. And some of the kids are very skilled when it comes to carpentry or any other type of vocational training. And unfortunately, we don't offer as many programs as Southeastern. So I'm at awe with Southeastern about that. And I tell my students all the time, I say, hey, if a four-year college isn't for you because you have the skill, here's some, and I sit down with my students after school, my seniors, every couple of weeks, and we go over some of their options, and I show them some options of what they may have, what they might not know. And I always bring up Southeastern, and I tell them about Southeastern's programs and stuff. So it's so that is where I stand on that.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Next, Counselor Cardoso.
Hi, Jerson. Nice to see you, and congrats to everybody who put their hats in this race. It's nerve-wracking. I've been there on that side, so I know everybody's, nervous, but congrats to you all for wanting to serve. I'm really excited about this. I think when I hear Mr. Branch talk about parental involvement and diversity and inclusion, you sent me your resume a while back, and it's very impressive. I think you bring a lot to the table. I was at a STEM event recently at Bridgewater State, and one of the things, there was a couple of vocational schools that were there, and one of the things that I, wanted to do here in Brockton was to promote more of the trades in our immigrant communities, because of a lot of our immigrant parents can't afford to send their kids to college. But I also know that there's this kind of a stigma around not going to college, especially in our Cape Verdean community. So if you don't go to college and you do a trade, the parents oftentimes, they feel embarrassed, that you picked a trade over going to college, where their best friend's kid is excelling in college and is a doctor and a lawyer, and you're doing a trade. So I think having someone like yourself that knows the culture and that can kind of educate parents around those stereotypes, like Mr. Branch spoke about, going to Southeastern is not punishment.
Right.
It's a good thing, and it's something that we need to promote. When I am doing work at my house right now, trying to find a plumber, an electrician, a contractor, is like pulling teeth, and a lot of them are aging out, and young folks are not stepping up to the plate, and they're not going into these trades, and that's going to be really bad for us some years from now when we try to find a plumber or electrician to come out. So how do you feel about that whole cultural aspect that you bring to the table, and how we can break some of those some of that negativity around trade and kind of bridge that relationship with our parents in Brockton?
Yeah, no, I think obviously the culture would be an advantage for me, but when it comes to I think we just need better advertising, and being from Cape Verde, my grandfather was a merchant marine, and he actually came to the States in his early teens, and he did trade school training. So it's just finding examples of, one way that I do is, even with my students, when I'm trying to teach them histories, I try and find something that connects them to the past, connects them to what I'm teaching them, whatever topic it might be. So this is something that we could do with this as well, is find a connection between the parents or the community and that trade or what the school's offering. So I think it could be a little bit of better advertising of what Southeastern offers and what it's about, and also that connection with the community. Most of our parents or grandparents in Cape Verde didn't have a chance to go to college, but they had some form of trade schooling. It's just that it wasn't a mortar and brick trade school, but you were there with your uncle, learning as an apprentice to your uncle, or learning as an apprentice to your father or grandfather. So we have that in our background. We just have to show how they learned, or if they have a family member that went through that in the past, and how that connects to the school.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All set, Counselor? Okay. Counselor Castro.
Thank you. Good evening. Thank you for being here. The policies of Southeastern Regional School District, they're online, require, among member qualifications, a member of the school committee to be a registered voter. And so I ask, are you a registered voter at this time?
Yes, I am.
Okay, thank you very much.
Since I turned 18. So.
Very good. Thank you very much. Thank you.
All set, Counselor. School committee members, any other questions? No? Thank you, Mr. Gerson.
Thank you.
So candidate number 5 is Mr. Jimmy Valentin.
I wish I was a little bit taller. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jimmy Jael Valentin, and I am here today to seek your support on the seat on the Southeastern Regional School Committee. Some of you may know me as an active member, attending city council meetings and other activities hosted by the Mayor of Brockton. For those of you who do not know me, let me tell you a little bit about myself and why should I be appointed as representative on the school board committee of Southeastern. I am a proud graduate of Southeastern Regional Vocational Technical High School. I graduated there in last year of 2019, class of 2019. And those 4 years were the greatest years of my life. I participated in every program they had to offer. And this includes Vice Principal Advisor Council, Skill USA, where I was chapter president, debate clubs, school committee board representative, as well as student council, where I was also elected class president too. I feel that now it's my turn to give back, not only to the school, but to my city of Brockton. Both the city of Brockton and Southeastern Technical High School means a lot to me. I am a lifelong resident of Brockton who is bilingual, speaking both Spanish and English fluently. I know that residents in this great city, and because of who I am, I will not only represent the city of Brockton, but I can do this because I have firsthand experience of what it's like to be a student in Southeastern. Over 65% of Brockton kids, over 65% of students are from Brockton. Like our city, Southeastern is a wonderful, exciting, and diverse community. I believe that Southeastern and its school board committee should represent that as well. Southeastern has a growing population of ELL students. If many of you know what ELL means, English language learners, most of whom who comes from our city, from Cape Verde, Portugal, Puerto Rico, Mexico, and other places around the world. Those kids are like me, quiet, nervous, and trying to learn the other language, while also learning the other subjects. But I feel that their voice must be heard and need a voice on the school committee. Like every other student, I believe in equality and inclusion and understand the struggles of these students and will represent that if I am appointed to this position. I understand that we have some great candidates here for this position. I also know that as a community, we need leaders from all economic groups and all age levels as well. I think it's important to balance our community, to represent it with people from all generations, including mine. I am a young leader who actually began my political career in high school. I would like to continue that career by taking this next step and becoming your representative on the Southeastern School Committee. In addition to my direct leadership at Southeastern, I also someone who will listen, someone who will understand what is expected of me, and someone who you can trust and respect. In your honest opinion, I could be honest and integrally. I understand that this position requires someone who is dedicated to both Brockton and the school, someone who will carefully consider every project, every agenda item, and consider that the students in this great school will be listened as well. For how it's impacted the school in my city, I believe that I am that person for this position and will appreciate your support to be elected on the Southeastern School Board Committee, because the doors of opportunity opens for those kids, for their future is bright, for my future is bright. If you elected me, I promise we can join hands together and walk that road of opportunity. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Mr. Valentin. Councilor Lally.
Thank you, Madam President. I want to take 2 moments before I ask my regular question. One, to reflect upon the fact that we have 5 people coming out for this. I think that's fantastic. I believe it was you, Madam President, who said the last time we need to make an appointment that there are some communities that don't see anybody coming out for an election or an appointment. So we're very fortunate to have an abundance of candidates. 2 of them are from Ward 6, I have to say. And the other point is we have finally reached that point where there are candidates younger than myself. So I think that's fantastic. Never thought I'd live to see the day. No, okay. But I do have my, my standard question. My concern is for the students who will be going through this school and who are through it, are going to it right now. Where do your intentions lie? Where does your heart lie? What are you seeking to do with this seat? Will you serve it out, and that is it? Will you run for re-election? Do you intend to run for something else? We want to make sure that whoever we appoint is committed to Southeastern.
Thank you for that valid question. And yes, I will run for re-election. If I shall win, I will run for re-election. If I shall lose, I will still run for it, because this city and this great school that I dedicated my 4 years there deserve a young leader like me. Because you, Mr. Lally, when you began your political career at age 18, you inspire young people like me, and when you became the first youngest city council member on Ward 6 to take the seat. And that inspired me to do the same thing today. So yes, I will seek for it. If I am appointed, or if I'm not, I will still run for it, because this is the great city of Brockton, and it deserves a young voice like me as well.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Mr. DAgostino.
Thank you. And again, I want to thank you for putting your name in and your willingness to serve. So this is a little different because we're both proud alumni of Southeastern Regional, although I was a couple years before you. You are making me feel extremely old tonight. I'm just going to let you know. Since you went to and graduated from Southeastern, I think we both have that background. So tell me, I'm curious about what would you like to do if you were in this seat? What would you do, or what would you change? What could we expect to see from you?
Well, what you could expect from me is I am a young student. I am class of 2019. I walked the halls before. I met every teacher. I have a smiling face, as you can see. And what I would like to do is to help out the students, because like as myself, when you're a freshman or new to a school, it's quite nerve-wracking. It's quite scary. But when you get to know the person, when you get to know the students and get to know the teachers, it's amazing to know how they put their time and dedication. Some of these students who are from Brockton, didn't forced to be in Southeastern. They chose it because we have amazing shops and amazing academic programs that can help them to become better people and become great students. There are other things I would like to change. For example, lunch, Taco Tuesday, but as well as helping students who are also bilingual, like me, don't know secondary English or don't know secondary Spanish or other language, Cape Verdean, Portugal. We have an amazing ELL program that I will love to expand that as well to other schools, which I believe they have the same program similar to us, but as well help out parents and students who don't know English that very well, as well as help out students who are also struggling and failing in their academic achievements and their studies as well, for we also provide academic help, but I will also love to hear their input as well.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you. Councilor Fawa.
You are nothing less than awesome. I'm going to tell you, when I graduated from high school the year after, I still didn't have the courage or the confidence to ask a cheerleader out that I found very attractive during the high school years. Don't ever let anyone or anything dissuade you from your dreams. Maintain your confidence, maintain your commitment, because it's obvious that whatever you embrace, you're going to give it 110%. And I have to tell you, for someone your age, I so admire that. My only problem with Councilor Lally is that when he joined the council, it made me look like I was about 100 years old. So,
And I
but I've gotten over that.
I stood right next to him, and I looked really short, so it was a
That's
trade-off.
it. So, but seriously, I commend you. I mean, it's so rare to see a young person with that kind of confidence and the ability to stand up and look at all of us and do what you just did. And I want you to always remember tonight.
Thank you, sir.
It's very impressive.
I also want to let you know that I am considered to be becoming the first Hispanic president of the United States of America by 2050. So if you see my name out there or running, so you're Brockton, vote for me.
Unfortunately, I will not be here to vote for you.
Oh, don't say that. You'll be here. Don't worry.
But I send my best wishes. So, thank you.
Mr. Tim Sullivan.
Thank you, Jimmy, for coming out. I just wanted to commend you on your enthusiasm. You're fabulous up there. You should be president of the United States. But my question is, in Southeastern Regional, there's 6 or 7 subcommittees. I don't know if you're familiar with those, or...
I am.
Do you have any intentions, or I'm not sure how it works in Southeastern, whether you're appointed by the chairman, or you can... How does it work, Tony? I mean, do you have to take 1 or 2 or 3 subcommittees, or...
Mr. Sullivan, after you have questions for Mr. Valentin, we have a couple of questions that we can ask the chair. I'll have her come up. So if you want to ask the candidate now something directly.
I just wanted to make sure that you're prepared to get onto subcommittees, because there is extra work.
Yes, I am prepared. I am prepared from the day I entered high school in 2015. I was appointed as advisor of the school board committee in 2015. By late December, towards going into Christmas break, I was also helping out in other board activities that was provided in Southeastern. So yes, sir, I am prepared to take on the challenge.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam President.
Okay, Councilor Lally.
Thank you, Madam President. And this is not an additional question. This is a comment. When you turn 18, you are allowed to vote. You are allowed to run for office. You can serve your country in the armed services. There are 19-year-olds in charge of, multi-billion-dollar pieces of machinery, like aircraft carriers, jet planes, tanks, and things like that. I will not go into detail, but I do want to express my displeasure that there are folks who are with us today who do not seem to take a candidate with youth seriously, especially folks who may have an education background. When you are 18, you are allowed to vote. You have the same voting power as someone who's lived in this country for 60 years. your vote is not less, your vote is not more. You have the same ability to run for office. You have the same ability to put yourself out there with as much bombast and energy as you like. And so I do just want to express, you know, with my background, I feel that's important to mention, and I just wanted to express that.
Thank you,
Madam
Counselor.
President.
Counselor Nicastro.
Thank you. Good evening, Jimmy. I enjoyed your presentation, and I wish you much luck. Are you a registered voter?
Yes, ma'am, I am.
Okay, thank you very much.
Counselor Mendez.
Hi, Jimmy. We also spoke last night on the phone, and I was very impressed with you. As Councilor Lally said, I looked at it and I figured you were young. You had just graduated, but I said, I'm going to call him and see why he's running, why he really wants this position. And after I spoke with you, I was so motivated. I was so happy. And it's so great to see young people really getting engaged and involved. If there's anything that any one of us could really do to help you just to excel your career, and maybe when you become the President of the United States, you'll be able to remember us, that we were a part of that to make that success. So I was very happy to get to know you, to speak to you, and I just see a great future. That wherever life leads you, you're just going to be doing great. And I'm so proud of you. And I'm sure your parents are too. So congratulations.
Thank you so much, and hopefully I do become the president, which that will be my dream, to
Yes.
serve my country. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Counselor. Any other questions for candidate Jimmy Valentin? No other questions? Thank you, Mr. Valentin.
Thank you all.
Counselors, school committee members, do you have any questions for any other of the, any one of the candidates that you'd like to re-ask before we continue? No? Okay. Actually, a few questions that come up that we would like, this wasn't planned, but if we could have Ms. Robin Zoll, which is the chair of the Southeastern Regional School Committee, come up. We just really quick questions. I think Mr. Sullivan, and we had one here, and good evening, Ms. Zoll, how are you? Thank you for being here this evening. Thank you very much. Quick question, do you know if any teachers that are actually teaching right now serve on the Southeastern Regional School?
No, we don't have any teachers presently. I am a retired teacher, but no. And I did not work at Southeastern.
Okay, thank you. So, Mr. Sullivan.
Thank you for coming. I was wondering how the subcommittees are divided up. I understand the chair does it.
Yes, the subcommittees, we have a number. We have policy, personnel, negotiations, athletics, and activities. We're just renaming that committee. Future of the district, which subcommittee of Future of the District is our building committee. We're in the process of building a performing arts center. We also have, I'm missing one. Yeah, negotiations. Oh, we have the Technical Institute. I knew I was missing one. The Technical Institute has a subcommittee.
The other part of it, how do you pick a school committee member to be on?
Well, most school committees are on, most school committee members are on 3 subcommittees. As chair, I'm ad hoc on all these subcommittees.
So they're on at least 3? Is that what?
Some may not be on 3, but yeah, the idea is we try to get about 3 committees. We have, once we get the new representative, we're a 10-member board. And one thing I do want to say is that we do not represent our own communities. We are voted at large, and we represent the entire district. If somebody from Brockton comes to me, I will advocate for that person just as much as I would from somebody from Stoughton, where I live.
Thank you.
So.
Thank you.
Councilor Rodriguez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, thank you for being here and being part of this process with us. As you know, that we have discussed, at least in the questions that went back and forth, the diversity. We have actually stressed out the diversity in our community and the fact that Brockton is probably one of the more diverse communities in Massachusetts, and that's true to the students that are also attending Southeastern Regional. I know that firsthand because I've done a lot of work with your guidance department in terms of bridging the gap sometimes that exists between the parents and the students in that school. My question to you is, what's the ethnic makeup of your committee right now? And are there any multilingual individuals on that committee who are able to come out and speak to the community?
Superintendent of schools was born in Portugal.
What about the committee I'm talking?
The committee, right now, Tony is the only person of color. We're various, diversity is not always ethnicity. It's various other things. We come from very different communities. So I would say we're diverse.
I'm talking about language diversity. Is there someone on that committee who's able to speak a language of the community? I don't mean Latin or some of these other languages.
No, there isn't, but I don't see how that has anything to do with our primary responsibilities on the school committee are policy and budget, and neither one of them really requires any language.
So you don't think a committee's members' ability to communicate in another language when 40% of the kids in your school speak a language other than English, you don't think that's important?
In general, we do not. I mean, I do go in and judge science fairs, and I go to some of the programs they run. Next week, we're having a program in an in-service for the faculty about diversity. But as far as the school committee, it doesn't really matter. It really doesn't.
It might not matter to you, but it matters to a lot of us, and thank you for being here tonight.
Yeah, no, I feel that the job of a school committee member doesn't get involved with language.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Holt. Councilor Cardoso.
Madam Chair, thank you for being here, but I'd have to disagree with you wholeheartedly. If you're going to sit on a committee and represent a city that's the majority minority, it is important that you actually represent that city, that you're able to speak the language, that you can relate to the students of that city. So I think diversity and inclusion nowadays is at the utmost importance, and we have to look at all of our,
Counselor,
bodies.
thank you. I don't mean to interrupt,
I'm just disagreeing with her, that's all.
Madam Chair is here and that's fine, but she's just here to, as chair, just to, if we need to ask any technical questions, and, she was elected by her constituents,
It's
just
not
like
her,
we were.
it's just
No,
a
it's not her,
disagreement,
so-
with all due respect.
Yes.
Okay.
That's another thing I do want to, we are not elected by our community. We are elected by the at-large by the entire school district, which is 8 towns and Brockton.
But thank you. Thank you for being here this evening and answering our questions.
Okay.
We appreciate it. Any other questions, counselors, school committee members? Okay. Thank you very much. Okay. At this time, is the council and school committee prepared to vote for a candidate to fill the unexpired term of Mark Lindy to the Southeastern Regional School Committee?
Yes.
Vote yes? Yes. By hand vote? Everybody's prepared to vote? Okay. At this time, I'm calling for the vote. Mr. Clerk, please read the roll, or Ms. Clerk. Counselor, just a point of information, at this time, if you state the name of the candidate that you would like to vote for when your name is called. Okay?
You're going to give them the list, right?
I will read the names of give them the list.
Different candidates, once again.
I will read the name of the candidates once more. So we had Nancy D. Macedo Fernandez, Rae Henningsen, Ozzie Jordan Jr., Kristen Montero, and Jimmy Jael Valentin. Those are our 5 candidates that we are voting on this evening. So when your name is called, please state the person that you would like to vote for.
Joyce Azak.
Thank you. I just wanted to say just a quick note. I hadn't asked questions because a lot of my questions were being asked. But my vote, and the reason I'm making this vote, I believe experience, and you really can't get much done in a short period of time. So I'm voting for someone that can be there and run for reelection come November. So my vote's for Rae Henningsen.
Do you have that, Robin? Shirley Azak.
Mr. Rae Henningsen.
Tina Gattoso.
She's in the restroom.
Left to right.
Okay.
Come back to her.
Timothy Cruz.
Ozzie Jordan.
Mark DAgostino, excuse me.
Raymond Henningsen.
Dennis Ianeri.
Ward 3 resident Jerome Montero.
Winthrop Fowle Jr.
Jerson Montero.
John Lally.
Mr. Valentin.
Rita Mendez.
Jason Montero.
Thomas Minicello Jr.
Mr. Ozzie Jordan.
Thomas Monahan.
Gerson Montero.
Susan Nicastro.
Gerson Montero.
Cynthia Mendez.
Jerson Montero.
Moises Rodriguez.
Jerson Montero.
Tony Rodriguez.
Jerson Montero.
Judy Sullivan.
Ozzie Jordan.
Timothy Sullivan.
Jerson Montero.
Jeffrey Thompson.
Gerson Montero.
Okay, would you like me to go back?
And please go back, Counselor Cardoso is back.
Cardoso.
I apologize, I had to go to the bathroom. Jerson Montero.
That completes the roll call. What do you have for a count? Here's the majority vote.
Thank you, one. Got 10. 11. 11.
Council President.
Yes. So congratulations to Mr. Gerson Montero, who was determined to be the highest vote getter with 11 votes. He is the candidate to fill out the unexpired term of Mr. Mark Lindy to the Southeastern Regional School Committee. So congratulations. Thank you once again to all the candidates. We really, as Council Lally stated, I always say Brockton's always lucky to have so many people that want to serve our city. So we're very thankful for that, and thank you for all of you for being here this evening. Mr. Gerson, you will want to, at some point this evening or tomorrow morning, call the clerk's office so you can schedule a time to come in and be sworn in. And you will want to be in contact with the Mr. Branch, find out when the meetings are, so you can, set up your schedule and see when, to start the process, okay? Thank you once again. Yes, Mr. Clerk, anything else? No? Okay. Actually, we do, just a couple of things. Once again, thank you to our mayor and the chair of the school committee and the vice chair, Mr. DAgostino, for being here with us, as well as all of you, all of the city councils and school committee members. Thank you for, it took a little longer than we thought. We thought it was going to be a quick meeting, but it was, we were well informed. Councilor Cruz, would you like to tell us where all these lucky shamrocks are from?
Yes, thank you. Before I get to that, though, I do want to say that was an amazing 5 candidates tonight.
They were.
And the diversity, and not just the diversity of language, of the 5 candidates was amazing, too. 5 people who brought so much different powers to the table, and congratulations, Mr. Gerson. Any of the 5 would have been wonderful, but congratulations. And it is, I think Mr. Lindy can tell you, was somebody who moved to Bridgewater, and they swore him in as a town councilor in about 5 minutes. It is not unusual when there are openings for government positions that nobody steps forward. The fact that we had 5 and originally 6 people stepping forward talks about the quality of the people in Brockton. So thank all of you for putting your names out there tonight. And then just in front of you, you have every one of you up here tonight, and there are some over here for members of the audience too when you leave, are bunches of shamrocks. Unfortunately, the coronavirus pandemic that's facing us has forced the cancellation of the Council on Aging St. Patrick's Day Party and the public safety mass that is held every year. The Archdiocese informed us today we're not going to be able to have that. State Representative Jerry Cassidy had kept up a tradition of my late cousin, Senator Tom Kennedy, to buy shamrocks for everybody. As you know, everybody's Irish this week, so please take your shamrocks with you. Remember Tom Kennedy and the public service people that we honor every year at the Public Safety Mass, but those 2 events at least have been canceled this week. I know Mayor probably has news on other things that are canceled, but stay safe, stay healthy, and enjoy your shamrocks on behalf of Representative Kennedy, Senator Kennedy and Representative Cassidy. Thank you.
Thank you very much to them. Our mayor has a few updates on the coronavirus.
Thank you, Council President. Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman. I want to thank the school committee and the city council, and more importantly, I want to thank everybody who put their name out there. This is exciting for the future of Brockton. So if you weren't successful tonight, don't be discouraged, okay? Absolutely don't be. This is good for the community. It's good for Southeastern Regional, the kids that, go there, the teachers that work there, but more importantly, it's great for the city of Brockton. That's the positive thing. Negative thing is coronavirus. I'll be on a conference call with the governor, lieutenant governor tomorrow at 10 o'clock with MEMA, police chief, fire chief, and Steve Hook from Brockton Emergency Management, and Board of Health will be on there as well. This is a serious health crisis. We've done the reverse 911 robocalls. We've done emails. I did a video the other day. We just need to, be cognizant of the fact that it is indeed a health crisis. Governor Baker declared a state of emergency yesterday. And we won't take that lightly. Now, again, there's a reason for that. It does increase the Commonwealth's funding to help us. But please, please don't panic, but do the right thing. What the healthcare professionals are saying, and I've said it before, and I know all of us up here are doing it, right? Wash your hands 20 seconds at minimum. Disinfect. City Hall, we're disinfecting consistently and on a regular basis, both morning, afternoon, and evening. Mike Thomas, Superintendent of Schools, is doing the exact same thing, including school buses. We just need to keep doing that. And if you do have any symptoms of illness or flu-like symptoms, call your primary care physician, call your doctor, and then self-isolate. We're working with the Council on Aging, Janice Fitzgerald, and Tom Tebow, the Housing Authority. We need to make sure that the most vulnerable, the elderly, are safe. So again, as the mayor, I'm working with the state delegation, with the governor, lieutenant governor. But I just thank you, Madam President, for letting me speak. I just wanted to inform you and those on TV, that we are acting diligently with the healthcare professionals to address it in a serious and a professional manner. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. With no further business, this meeting's adjourned.